Bartail has been one of the persons who's watched all the shows. I talk to him on a regular basis in the EverQuest Next IRC channel.
What we saw with, Kunark for EQ2, you did those 400 quests, you did all the content, and at the end of it, the world wasn't changed.
Yeah, I'm Phantom X. I do social media and write articles for EQ Nexus.
For the Fall of Bastion, there was a very definite, okay, this is where your story is going to fit into the world.
Listen, fluffy looking bear. Thank you. Listen, I went and I killed a dragon, and then 2 drops of whiskey hit my face, and I willed this manly beard into cow was raising. Yes.
Hello and welcome. This is the EverCast show, connecting gamers with the game they play. This is episode number 47? Holy 47, which we've titled From Dusk Till Dawn. I am one of your hosts, Tanlin. With me are our 3 other normal co-hosts. I'll give them a minute to introduce themselves before we introduce our special community guest for the day. Someone? Anyone?
Ladies.
I'm Kai, and I'm a year older than I talked to you last.
Happy birthday.
It was yesterday.
Happy name day.
Hi, I'm Lucy. I'm mostly comic relief.
Hi, I'm Flatus. I do the thing. I do this. This is what I do. Welcome to the show. This is all I got. I have water.
I was like, all I got is a diet Snapple.
And I am Velix from 10 Ton Hammer. You guys also probably know me from last Friday on Theory Forge. We have a lot of crossover these 2 shows, so it's always fun to engage this community. As many chances as I get, I'm going to take it. So everybody knows that, but I've been writing a lot more on 10 Ton Hammer, so I've got more content there, and we actually will be, I believe we're going to be rolling EQ Hammer into 10 Ton Hammer, so that's going to all eventually transition over, so go to 10 Ton for the same great content we had at EQ Hammer. I'll still be posting a few things there, but it's all going to work its way over, but it's great to be here again. Thanks for having me on, you guys. It's always a blast.
Apparently I had my mic muted, so hi, I'm Kai.
Pulling it, Tamlin.
I am a year older now, but yeah, it's not the same when I have to repeat myself. But hi.
So, From Dusk Till Dawn, it's pretty somber show. I think that first little bit of ECAST news should get it out of the way. Have a moment of silence. The creator of Nutella passed away this morning. All right. No. It is a sad story that the creator of Nutella has passed away, because I think everybody on the show loves Nutella. We're all in favor of Nutella. Yeah.
Sure.
Lucy? No, what was it? So no Girl Scout cookies and no Nutella?
Ghirardelli owns my soul, if that makes any difference.
What sort of deal did you sign with blood?
One that must not be spoken of.
You gave your soul to the vows of El Diablo.
For dark chocolate with salted caramel? Yeah,
Oh,
Yes!
Where do I sign? I'll bite my thumb right now!
Where's the line start?
You don't like dark chocolate, you dirty, dirty liar.
But I like salted caramel.
You don't like salty things either.
Oh, East Coast, West Coast, caramel.
No, it's caramel.
Oh, Tamlin's in the corner by himself.
Am I a rebel?
As usual.
So true. So the other little bit of ECAST news, before we get to the real reason why the name of the show is From Dusk Till Dawn.
Because we have to explain it.
As a matter of fact, we do, and I'll get to that. The beta registration for Crowfall is currently open. Crowfall is a new MMO, which is exploring, like, when I was talking with Velix, it sounded like it was exploring the next evolution of, like, the Guild Wars 2 world versus world system, where you have conflicts that last for a set amount of time, and then they the story or whatever resolve themselves, and then you return to another part, the eternal world, as they called it, right?
Yeah, I thought it was really interesting because to me it almost looks like from their FAQ on the world thing, and they have the images there. It almost looks like it's this infusion of strategy, wargaming, and almost to a MOBA type aspect. But then in this outer ring, you have like an MMO. All the worlds in the outer ring are like MMO persistent servers, and then as you progress in, there's all these different campaigns of different lengths. So it seems like you get into the very center, and you might be in like a week-long campaign where you've got to rush, and it might be more akin to a MOBA, like a long-term MOBA. So really, really interesting. I just like the strategy aspect. I like the way a lot of games, like EverQuest Next, is doing it as well, of infusing these other genres, some of these mechanics that are popular, atypical mechanics, from other genres into MMO. So pretty cool. I'm definitely watching that one as well.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And if I wasn't clear, it's basically they're putting you in a beta group when you register for it right now. I'll say right now I'm in beta group 6, and so if you sign up, there's a chance that we're in the same beta weekend together, because it seems to be the trend is that they'll do like a group of beta testers all in one week.
Wait, where do you find what beta group you're in?
Oh, it was
because I signed up I think it was like weeks and weeks when Chewy was still here, and I was like, "Hey guys, Crowfall," and I signed up like the week it was announced. So
I think that you just like go in and look at your profile, like go to their website and look at your profile, and it'll be like beta group or whatever. They might, like, if you logged in early enough or registered early enough, they might not have included that.
Oh yeah, maybe not.
All right,
not that I'm gonna go check right now.
Liar.
And then the last little bit of ECAST news is that, of course, with as we talked about last week, Daybreak Games is not hosting an SOE Live type event this year. Project Fanfare is the name of the event that the fans are putting on in its place. They have their own website launched currently. It is projectfanfare.com. You can go there and find out the latest and greatest information about what we're doing. I know that they've already picked the weekend. It's like the weekend of August 14th. They've picked the location that's going to be back in Las Vegas. The funny thing is they even said it's like, no matter what we do, people are not going to like it, so we just kind of have to go with what we think is best. And I think that those are best because that's about the time of year I was already planning on going to Vegas, and so yep. And thank you, Shincher, for linking that. So any last final ECAST news before we get to the down and dirty of what From Dusk Till Dawn means? All right. Kylest, you asked if we needed to really explain it, and I think we do, because like I always look to my parents as the most casual of MMO players, game players, and it's like if they haven't heard something that, you know what, not that news might not have gone around the world or gotten into, like out there as far as it could be. And so like we're going to take the opportunity to stretch that news out a little bit. What was it, like 2 weeks ago, Sony Online Entertainment put out a press release that they were bought out by Columbus Nova, which is an investment group. We covered that last week. What happened since last week's show and this week's show is that there was a layoff of, I think the estimate was about 45% of the current staff, included in them. You'll see the names scrolling across the bottom. The names include like Dave Georgeson, Jeff Butler, Linda Brass Carlson, Steve Morgard Newser. It was the big figurehead names that we had all grown accustomed to seeing lead the project forward. And it shook me up, because for that first afternoon after I saw the news, it's like I had no idea what to expect, and I went into panic mode. I'm like, what does this mean? The leaders are now gone. They've left. What happens with EQ next now?
Isn't that the big? I think that was the big question. Well, I think first of all, it was that was the big question, and there was a lot of, not only that, but a lot of anger and animosity towards, I think, misplaced towards, like, you know, it was Columbus Nova, it was SMED directly. Like, they didn't. None of these people had to be let go. There had to be a different way, and I think a lot of it. I think people were so emotionally invested in these figureheads because they were so public and so open with us as a community, and it's kind of watching your best friend not be there anymore. it's like, oh, all my best friends are now gone, and then they're gonna go do all these other things, and then now it's like, who do I go to? Like, it was like a breakup. It was like, not only did they lose their job and you're upset because now they're like, oh, which they were all very, from what I understand, handsomely compensated. Like, none of them have to go and look for jobs right away. So I think they're, you know, monetarily they're comfortable for a while, job wise, money wise. But as the figureheads for the community, that took a blow. Like, you know, we had Omid, and Omid left. And then after Omid, you have Dexella, who's still there. So we still have Dexella. And we still have certain key people, but we don't know. Pentapod, yeah. We still have these people that are still going to be there. We just don't know. You know, although Pentapod is very open with the community, she comes, and every once in a while she crashes our show and watches, sometimes from the shadows. And but it's hard, like, you know, especially after that. Like, you're so used to, like, going to Dave and like, hey Dave, like, I had this idea. And he's like, you know, and he writes it down and, like, thinks about it and, like, it was a pretty good idea. Let me go see if what we can do. At least, and you feel like, who do I have now to go, like, oh, that, you know, I saw this, like, Crowfall's doing this. Is this something you guys were thinking about, or is this something that you guys were already doing, or, like? And sometimes he's like, we can't really say, but, you know, he'd put a little winky face, like, you know, like maybe we are doing that. We just can't say. So it sucks. So, hi Pentapod, she's being here, still here, and it hurts, man. It does suck, and I think a lot of it, me being a person who was let go from a company last year, for the same reason, through a buyout. I understand it. I think from the other side, I understand that it sucks, and it sucks having to be sitting down and with your boss, anybody that's gone through it sucks, because, like, the person that's sitting across the table doesn't want to tell you this is why it's happening, and you don't want to hear it either, because you don't know what's going to happen to you. I
feel like I'm getting the breakup talk.
Yeah,
the really sad music is playing.
I
don't
have
sad raining outside.
I've gone through a layoff myself. I work in the aviation industry. It's where my set of technical skills comes from. Right after 9/11 happened, there was a massive. The aviation industry took a massive hit. It was totally predicted, and they kept us along for as long as they could. And when they couldn't, they was like, you know, my boss told me, is like, you've got great skills. You're a great person to work with. There's nothing I can do. I am sorry. And that sounds everything, like, after the initial blow over has gone over, that sounds everything that Daybreak has gone through themselves. Everything they could have done, they tried doing. This is what it came down to.
Yeah. Yeah, on the other side of that, like, I haven't gone through that at all anytime recently, but I've been on the side of the people who are still at Daybreak. Like, in the last year at Ten Hammer, I mean, it was earlier this year, shortly after SOE Live, actually, that, you know, and I had just spent all of SOE Live with some of these coworkers. You know, we had let go basically everybody that was writing at EQ Hammer had to be let go. And I got moved over to the main site, and I'm still kind of managing EQ Hammer, but watching those people go, these people I just spent, got to know really good, and I'd been riding with for the past year, and seeing them go, and there's literally nobody wants to get rid of them. We are owned by a parent company, and the parent company sets our budget, and that's what happens. And then just again recently, it's terrible. It was the day before I found out about the Daybreak acquisition by Columbus Nova. The day before that, our senior management let us know that our staff was getting cut basically in half again. So there was more people, and this time it was some people that I had, was some of my favorite people that I'd worked with over the past year. So it was you don't want to be either person in this. You don't want to be the person that gets let go, and you don't want to be the person that stays either in a lot of senses, because you're still experiencing loss. You're not having all the stress of trying to find a job necessarily, but you do have the stress of seeing great friends go and wanting to help them, and probably sometimes you can't even help them. So it's really a bummer. And if you're in a specific, if you're in a position like they're in, with Daybreak, I'm not sure exactly how their financials going, but with us at 10 Ton Hammer, it's still this, question mark. Even the people that were retained were if we can't get the place to a certain point, we don't have jobs either. So it's there's still this, it's not a great place to be in, but, so I totally feel, I totally understand how they feel over there. And it was, my reactions that first day were very, I think when I was doing my news article, I've had a few punches in there going against Columbus Nova, and that's where I was directing my personal anger, because I was really, like Flatus was saying, I was following this, it was like getting the breakup call. I got along, Steve DeNewser, I've been talking with over the past couple months with lore and stuff, and it was hearing him, that was the real punch for me. Once Morgard was I was and I was kind of taking some shots at Columbus Nova, but I went back and edited those out, after I had some time to process. I was it wasn't really them. I've done more research, and they're not to blame, like Tamlin said, they tried to do everything they could, but, they came in to stabilize things, and unfortunately it had to be done, so, but yeah, I just wanted to add that in for people to keep in mind of the developers that are still there, keep supporting them, in any way you can, whether you're still playing the games and contributing that way, or, saying hi, being friendly and nice. Don't have any attitude with the people that are there. They couldn't help it either, so.
Yeah.
I think when it initially happened, I definitely felt like they had peeled the face off of the game that we knew and loved, because those people were our faces. They were on Landmark Live, and they were tweeting and retweeting stuff from the community, and you saw them. You know what I mean? And I think what I'll miss most, and I'm sure that other people will come and have the same amount of energy, but I don't think anybody can talk about games as excited as Dave Georgeson can. And it was really, really nice to hear that passion, the same passion that we have and the same excitement that we have for games, mirrored in the people that are making our games. And I know that the people who step up and become the community face for us now, are probably going to have passion and love for the game. You have to work in the game industry. But it's kind of a bummer to see the people that we knew go and have to learn new people, new faces and stuff like that.
I might have been so angry that I called Daybreak, maybe.
Well, somebody was tweeting out there or linking it. I don't know, but they were here's their phone number, call. And if it doesn't change anything, at least that lets Columbus Nova know that hey, the community, that when Daybreak Game Studios talks about their community and they have a passionate community, at least Columbus Nova can't be oh, we really didn't believe that. We, now they know, because they were getting their emails, sent out and phone calls in. And so that's, I'm not going to say whether or not that's going to make a difference, but at least, we will not be ignored. Right.
Yeah, no, I don't think they'll. I think they pretty were well, we made it. We definitely made the investment. We're kind of, but at the same time, I think what I saw a lot of that day. The first day was a lot of people saying like, "Oh, that's it. I'm dropping all the games. I'm canceling my all access. Like, well, I'm not going to support them." And I kept thinking, I'm like, why would you do that? Because if you really cared about those games and the people and the company, the people that are still left there, like, continue to support the games you play. Continue to support EverQuest 1, 2, EverQuest Next that's coming out, Landmark, H1Z1, PlanetSide 2. Continue to, if you have the all access, continue to give money to that. If that's what you feel is worth your money, then give that. Play your game. Show them support. Show them that there is interest in the game. Get more people to come in and see these games. Like Holly Lawndale. I'm just gonna mess up her name. Probably last name. Or yeah, Lawndale. Or Holly Windstalker. I'm just going to Windstalker.
Windstalker works.
Windstalker works. And she's now the executive producer over EQ and EQ2. That's great. That's great news. I think she does a great job. I think she did a fantastic job with the last expansion for EQ2. I think she headed that group and made a great expansion. I think it did really well. I can't wait to see what she's going to do now. And she's already posted saying, like, listen, next week, this week coming up, there's definitely, she's going to be on the live stream for EQ2. They're going to talk about the updates, things they're creating for the game. And like even Legendary said, he's like, I'm trying to, battle negativity. Like, that's the last thing this community needs and those people need is negativity. Because what warmed my heart was the people that were let go. A lot of them said, it's like, well, now I'll have more time to go into EQ2 and play my character. I'll log in H1Z1. I have some free time. Like, they were going to go home and play the games that they just got done helping make and help be part of that community. And it still didn't, like, they knew what, like, they didn't take it as malice. They didn't take it like they went home and still logged in that day and played their characters and played the game that they cared about. And I think that shows a lot of passion behind the company they worked for and the games that they played. And I think that the community should show the same. That's just me, though.
Yeah, I think Pentapod summed it up pretty nicely there in chat. If you want to guarantee there's no EverQuest next, stop playing Daybreak games. That's basically, their games is their revenue income right now to keep producing, this title that everybody's excited about. So, I'll use H1Z1 as an example because I hate horror games or horror anything really. It doesn't entertain me too much, and bad zombie tropes are probably like near the top of my list of hates and dislikes. But I got into H1Z1 just to help support and look at what AI might be coming from the new stuff they're working on, might make it in there. And I actually, playing the game, I actually liked it, not for its horror aspects or its zombie-ness, but I really liked the fact that, like, it was edge of your seat. Like, every moment you were doing something, it was like you were paying attention. It was all about the journey. It wasn't about, okay, what achievement can I unlock next? What can I get from my character next? It was like, how am I going to survive? Like, it was pretty cool to just have that shift in as an MMO from what you're typically, and especially if you picked it up with a friend, when you were running around with friends, that was like, it was like no MMO I've played in a long time of the group experience. So it was amazing.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Especially like us with the Helsing Army, like we grouped up, we started like going around for fun. Like we started going around and finding like every cop car we could, and we had we took pictures and posted on Twitter. We had the used car lot, we had
Helsing Army used car lot.
Yeah, we made it a point, and then we had a blast because we started realizing that H1Z1 is not only a survival game, but it's a game where you get to see the AI. The zombies will trail you for a while, and there's different types. There's ones that run at you and stuff like that. And you don't see it coming. You just hear I hear a moan, and all of a sudden there's a zombie. You turn around. There have been moments where I screamed. I was like, ah, because I didn't see it. You don't see the bear coming. The bear is scarier. It's sometimes scarier than the zombie. And the game's a lot of fun, and you just don't know how people, how other people are going to react, because you never know, there's that, you're always on the edge, like Velix said, you're always on the edge, because you don't know how your fellow player is going to act. Are they going to be a person that's just going to say, I don't trust you, I'm just going to put you down, because I don't know what's going to happen, or you just pass by, you just don't say anything, you just pass by and just say, listen, I'm just going to walk away, you're going to walk away, and it's fine. And that's a good feeling, and it's a solid game. It's been #1 on Steam. It took like a little hit, I think, during the Dota 2 championships and stuff like that. But it's right back up there. It's right back #1. I think H1Z1's a good example of where the company's headed. I think it's a great job. And H1Z1 was made on a small team, and now the PlanetSide 2 team, from what I understand, is the same size. So you can't say that small teams can't make great games. Indie devs do it all the time. Terraria was made by 2 people, and that Terraria is a fantastic game. We were playing that earlier today, so it's quite possible. So.
Tanlin, you're muted.
Oh boy.
Man, I'm having a good day. I did that. Yeah. Back on thought. If you want to follow along with H1Z1, it was you probably still want to do that. You want to continue doing that because, as far as we know, the AI that there is in H1Z1 right now, parts of it they're going to be using in EverQuest Next. So that's not just the zombies, that's the wolves, the bears, and even the bird flocking pattern. So if you're not into zombie survival games, maybe try checking it out to see if you can figure out what motivates the zombies, because that's going to be important knowledge to know, because the NPCs in EverQuest Next are not going to be like, I follow you when you set my aggro table and I run at you for this length of time, and when you exit that length of time, I turn around and run back, I leash back to where I'm from. As far as we know, that could be in there.
Yes, Lucy, we have a drinking game.
Yeah, Poland Tanlin is definitely having a drink. So, do reasons to be optimistic. We have reasons to be optimistic. I have a list of things that the developers have said, and it's important to know that this all came out after the layoffs. And how to say, like, why would we look at this and see this as reasons to be optimistic? First, Darren McPherson tweeting out that the 4 pillars of EverQuest Next are intact and they predate everybody on the team. And you wouldn't say that if there was a thought that they were going to remove the 4 pillars of EverQuest Next, right? Like, if they were going to go back to the drawing board far enough that they were rethinking the 4 pillars, they wouldn't tweet out that, the vision is still in place, right?
Can I?
Always. What's up?
I have a really hard time with it. And I'm not saying that anybody's lying, but business as usual. And then layoffs.
Usually that happens though. Like any big company that's going to like get bought out, they usually write out like I heard the same exact thing when my company was bought out 5 years before. I was like, oh, it's business as usual, because they don't want to scare anybody. They don't want to, and then like the first thing's going to happen, like you start losing face in the company and things like. I mean, it was bound to happen. Like I knew it was like, as soon as I heard that they were separating and becoming their own thing, I was like, the first thing I thought in my mind was like, there's going to be like business as usual is a temporary a blanketed statement usually, because PR teams usually write it that way. It's like business as usual because you want to see that, but it's going to come. It's it's coming, because it's like, how much money, like they have to look at the bottom line. They have to look at like, how can we keep, I'll say it like this. It is the house, like, and I'm not going to use my company, I'm going to use Daybreak as the example. It was the house that EQ built, and they want to keep it that way. And then, like, I think a lot of people are losing faith that that's what the dream is, and I don't think that's not the dream. I think that they will do anything that they can to keep EverQuest in the forefront of MMOs, like even though it's the grandfather, I think they really want to put a lot behind EQN, and I think that the people that were let go, I think some of them would have actually just willingly fallen on swords to see EQN let go. I think Dave Jordan would have been the first person to be like, if I have to see EQN let go, I will leave. Sucks that they had to be let go that way, but I think that if they had the choice, I think that to see their dream come true and be able to play it, I think they would have walked out without a pack. Not to say they would have, but money's always nice. But I'm saying, like, if I was somebody who was creating something like EQN, and it was for the betterment of the people staying in that company, working on it, and for the players and the people waiting patiently, yeah, I would have walked out. I would have been like, if this saves the game, go ahead. Like, I'd rather see it be released and people play it and see what I helped work on versus me stay there and watch the company go under.
Yeah, that was a big chunk of the article that I wrote last week, or yeah, this week kind of. This last week was just that when you look at SOE as a company, or Daybreak as a company, and the way they've traditionally done things, there's their standards for community that they have for building communities, maintaining their player communities, and keeping their fans happy, and then their quality level of games. Like, they typically don't put out anything substandard, and for the size of studio they are and the quality level they put out, it's pretty impressive. And when you look, it's kind of funny because, like, people might be able to get mad about this thing that happened, but we can only get mad at ourselves in a sense, because literally that happened because they refused to lower their bar, lower their standard down and push out crappier games. They had to let people off because they refused to, like, what was it, EverQuest 3 was 60% complete, a few years ago, and they're like, this is not going to cut it. Like, this will not succeed. Maybe it wasn't just it wasn't necessarily the financial thing, at least in my opinion. I'm sure that's a part of it, but from seeing them and playing their games since the original EverQuest and stuff over time, like, they literally said this is not good enough, and so they scrapped everything and set back development on that, at least a year, if not 2 years, they got to keep a lot of assets, but they went back to the drawing board, so we can only really get mad at ourselves. Like, they did that for us, like the people that are gone today from Daybreak are because they hold, our wants and needs to a higher standard than even, it's pretty, I don't know.
And yeah, what you had just said, like, I get to say this again. I'm not an Arathian. I have not played EverQuest or EverQuest 2 more than a couple hours. I have played Vanguard for years and years and years, and my number one fear about what this means is that they get a time crunch put on them now, where it's like they know they need a year to produce the game, and they're told, no, you don't have a year, you have 6 months, which is exactly what happened to Vanguard. They needed more time to be able to launch the game. They were told they didn't have the time. They had 6 months. They launched the game in 6 months, and it was broken. And that was the game that we were given. And worst fear, that happens to EverQuest next. From what I see, that's not what's going on, because they're talking about filling the vision and creating the timetable that it's going to be to create that vision, not the other way where they're going to scale back the vision so that they can fit it in the time frame that they have.
Yeah, and I'd rather have them sit down as a group and say, what is feasible, what is what we want, what we don't want, and what we can deliver on. Like, I'd rather say, like, all right, we can get this game working, get it out to people, and sacrifice these few features. Nothing like AI or anything like that, but like, we could always roll these out like in another patch. Like 2 patches down the road, we can roll these certain features out, but it will get the game out. It'll be working, and it'll give people what they want. Versus like, all right, well, we couldn't have like leather working added right away because of this. I'm not saying that would be one, but I'm just saying, like, as an example, leather working couldn't, because it couldn't make it, because they couldn't fit in that time frame. But the rest of the game is good to ship. It's working. There's a few bugs, but it's always expected. I'd rather see that than a broken game. And if they could get all the time in the world to make their game, they would. because you want to release the game as good as it can be, you know.
You know, it's interesting too that I think we've had so many long-standing MMOs that we've been playing. You know, MMO players or MMORPG players, we're kind of like spoiled. Like when a new MMO comes out, it's not going to contend with past MMOs because, you know, EverQuest, the original EverQuest that's still going now 15 years later, probably, you know, almost going into its 16th year, like, it has had features added and added. Like, it is so feature heavy that, like, a new player almost can't even pick it up and play it because it's like, what do I even do here? So
I feel that way about Eevee 2. Trying to jump back into it, I'm like, I don't even know what any of these buttons are.
Yeah, so I mean, that's one thing that everybody should take into consideration. Like, I would like to see them, you know, if EverQuest Next comes out, like Vlad was saying, they say, look, all right, here's our whole pie. You know, we don't have the time frame to complete this. Let's eliminate the most non-essential features to the game experience, you know, itself. Let's get a solid game out. And, you know, if it's successful and if we can get it out, let's get it out and we can add these things in over time. You know, nothing's keeping them from adding those things in later. So, and I think that's something that is totally doable. And if it's a good game, if you make a good game, the quality's high, you know, MMOs have the ability to, you know, persist in the market longer than other games where, like, if it's not hot, it's not hot and people just didn't buy it. But MMOs, you know, they hang around and people are like, oh, I'll go check this game out. You know, I got bored of this, you know, what is it? I'm trying to think, theme park experience. I'm done. I consumed everything. Let's try out this. And if it's good, you know, even if it's small, if it's good, it could be good enough that, you know, it latches people on and people come back and check it out.
Yeah. And this even though it's not about EverQuest, it reminds me of something Yoshi P, the producer and exec over at for Final Fantasy XIV, said when he was answering questions for Reddit. Somebody asked him, like, why is it that you guys feel that you need to pump out content every month? And he said it's because we don't have the same what's the word I'm looking for? We don't have the same benefit as World of Warcraft does, because World of Warcraft cannot release content for 6 months, and people will still come back. That is their home. Whereas he's like something like Final Fantasy, we have to be able to deliver new content every month to keep people in our game. And that's unfortunate, but this is the way that MMOs have to be. They have to think like you have something like a powerhouse of something that's World of Warcraft, where they may not release something for a year, like a new expansion, or they may just stop putting patches out until the next expansion comes out. Where other games have to say, like, how can we contend with that? We have to be able to keep players in our game. And one way Final Fantasy does it is that they release content. And then the one way that I think EverQuest Next is going to take it to that next level is that they're going to have the expanding quest lines, the AI, the ability that if my friend decides to come play with me, they're not stuck behind a leveling wall or gear barriers or anything like that. They don't have to worry about a gear treadmill.
And you don't have to pick up an alt to play with them.
Exactly. So I mean, it is very much so to their benefit. Like, we don't know what the first. I mean, remember this version of EverQuest Next is the third. So EverQuest, the very first EverQuest Next could have been exactly like a theme park, maybe with more sandbox elements, and the second version was more sandbox, and this is where they want it to be. And I think they have more of a foothold with what they're showing, what we've seen so far, and hopefully, next week and as we go forward, maybe the team will maybe show us a little more things and we can see some more stuff and kind of maybe calm down the community. Like, here's some things. And
and that's one of the things that I was saying. People are wondering and doubting about where EverQuest Next is in the development. And we all saw the video at SOE Live 2014, not 2013, where they showed the Dark Elf City and they show the NPC walking through the city and the other NPCs interacting with that. And they said that it wasn't scripted. And what we don't know, and like, I think that it would really benefit the community for the developers to be like, this was run on the game engine in the game as it is right now. It wasn't like a developer video where we, puppeted the figures through there. But you saw an NPC walking through a city. You saw other NPCs interacting with that the way that the story brick engines wants them to. There was one NPC that was the Count. The other Dark Elves bowed to the Count as the Count walked by. Maybe it was a Countess, or maybe they said it was a Duke or something like that. But those are all things that they've shown us. Like we've seen them, and then like I can pull out the screenshots of that dark elf model that they were showing wearing a suit of armor. That set of armor is in Landmark, and they've said this, and I have reason to believe them because I can see that they've got the models of the dark elves armor in their videos, and it is in Landmark. And so like when they say that, you know, hey, Landmark is the test bed for EverQuest Next, I believe them because I see it. I mean, and if you don't, I'm gonna like maybe in the second hour of the show, I'll be able to find that video that I was just referring to from SOE Live 2014, where we see the people interacting with the Dark Elf the way the Story Brick engine says that they should be. But
and I remember what you're talking about. It's with the staff too, or like that one person that, like, if I held the staff, people would kneel around me. Versus if they gave the staff to an NPC, then they would kneel.
Yeah,
that was so cool.
It was really cool.
Yeah, I really love too is the other part of that demonstration when they showed the time lapse. You know, it wasn't in-game footage, but they showed the time lapse of when you have, you know, the way they plan to do resources and have the AI pursue resources the same way players do. You know, like games really haven't done that before. It's been possible with AI, but for some reason games haven't really caught, because when you create a game as a designer, you're setting the rewards for the player. You're setting the path for the player. So in essence, you know mostly what the player's going to do because you're planning what they're going to do in the game. I haven't seen too many games take the AI and make the AI act like humans, you know, like have the same goals, you know, like it's always like, here's the players, here's the NPCs. And EverQuest Next is the first time I see one where they're like, players and NPCs are almost the same. They're all going to be doing things, even when they've talked about combat briefly, you know, like, you're going to get the same, you know, the enemies you're facing are going to have the same, like, abilities and things. They're going to be able to change on the fly. Like, they're going to have some scripting elements in there where these things are going to, you know, change all of a sudden to do, you know, to mimic that unpredictable human element. But already, you know, making them act like players is a huge step that no MMO has really done before. And I think that goes back towards what Tanlin was saying about having these dynamic types of content in there, you know, to give them, you know, when you'll have recurring, you don't have to do what Final Fantasy 14 is doing anymore of like always injecting something, because you've got this recurring dynamic content to give you time. And it's one thing I've mentioned in a couple, I don't know if it was on Theory Forge recently or just in some other thing that I was doing an article, but you know, one thing that really is beneficial, you know, when you come in as like Columbus Nova, you come in, you examine a company before you buy it, you're like, okay, if I'm going to make money with this, if this is going to be a good investment, we got to look at the assets. We got to look at what it has. We got to see how we can produce something out of it. And I think when you look at their assets, when you look at what Daybreak is and what games they have and what engines they have that are unique assets and the people they have, it's all, you know, MMORPG. It's all, you know, now they have the Forge Light is part of all their games, and they have this new voxel-based, you know, editable world technology that is really the core, you know, the core new feature they're developing, along with the Story Bricks, you know, the two indie engines they brought in. When you look at that, it's, you know, I don't see EverQuest Next not happening, or, you know, because as long as they still get the predicted people that are currently playing the games and giving them the revenue, like that's why they made all these cuts. Because they wanted to make it sustainable so that they can keep moving on this technology tree with Story Bricks, with the voxel-based system, to get this new thing out that's going to be their return. You know, that's going to be their investment paying off. So, I mean, people shouldn't get as scared of this whole situation as they should, as they are, because, you know, this company wouldn't have bought them if they didn't intend to, you know, get a return out of it. You know, that's part of what the investment is, so I'm really excited still. Like, even though it's such a bummer for what happened this past week and the people that we saw go, like, I'm still, like, there's still this hope in me that shouldn't be there, you know? Like, normally you wouldn't have this hope, but when you, like, kind of really examine things and process it more, it's like, it's gonna happen. As long as we stay on the course as we have been with players, you know, as players, it should happen, you know? And I'm still excited for what they have and who they still have there is, you know, they have some amazing people still there.
Not only that, but in my opinion, EverQuest games have always had the content that other games have lacked. Like, they've had housing before, like tons of other games have had, and they did it better than other games. And I never understood why more people didn't play EverQuest 2 specifically. And all of my friends dragged me to World of Warcraft, basically kicking and screaming. I mean, somebody in chat said, it's not about the AI, it's about the players. And yes, to a degree, it is about the players, because in a massively multiplayer online world, you kind of want it to be, massive and multiplayer. But I feel like I really hope that being bought by a company with more resources means that we can have that player base, because I know we're going to have the features. I know we're going to, because if they even have, 3/4 of the features that EverQuest 2 had, I'll be happy, because they had way more features that I liked than other games.
See, I wanted to
agree. Oh no, go ahead, Kylas.
Let me make a. I haven't played much of EverQuest 2, and it's not because I didn't like the game; it's because I didn't understand how to play it. Because there's too much shit in that game for me to know what to do, and as a new player, that's really frustrating. So you hear me talk a lot about World of Warcraft because it holds your hand, and in the beginning, so you know what's going on, and I really want to like EverQuest 2. I want to know how to go back and play it so I can actually talk about it, because I liked what I could do, but it's just, it hurts.
It's really confusing, especially to try to get into the game at this point after having so many years of things added on, like the AI, like the AA points, and like all this other stuff. And the way you do crafting now and the way you collect resources is different. And like, there's so many quests to get new.
You can collect resources in that game?
Oh my god! What?
I didn't know you could collect resources.
Oh yeah, no, it's just collecting resources is a huge. But it's not a huge deal anymore, because then they added gatherers that you could just send out from your guild hall, so you literally never had to go. It's a big thing. Basically, it's extremely confusing and it's hard to pick up for a new person. But the things that they did well, like not interactive, but engaging storyline and quests that made sense, and guild housing and player housing and all of the stuff that you could get through the city festivals, where you can pick up items for your house that look like the feel of the city that you're going to the festival in, and stuff like that was just really cool to me. And you could quest for so many different things and get all these cool little items, and being able to go and get your heirloom. I don't want to say heirloom, but I think it's called I want to say it's heirloom gear. And when you've grown out of it, you can turn it into a house item and display it. So you're like, hey, look, I got this cool thing at this level. Isn't that neat? And I feel like the features are gonna be there, and I want them to have the resources to pull on the player base to make it massive, and to make other people want to play, so we have that community to fall back on.
That whole
Heritage Quest, thank you, chat. Heritage Quest, thank you.
People have been asking, and it made a lot more sense when when the content was the gear treadmill content, right? Where you're getting your next set of gear and then replacing it with the next tier set of gear, and you're constantly replacing it. People have been asking for I want to show off this tier of armor I had, because when I got it, it was important. And there's is there a game really that has it where you can show it off as a trophy piece?
Minecraft.
Okay.
Skyrim.
But Skyrim's not an MMO.
It's not.
I think EverQuest 2, and that's really the only massive multiplayer game that I've played that had it. I mean, I played Skyrim, but. And
that's one of those features that people like having, and I like showing off my trophies. I know that
WildStar had it.
Right, and Vanguard had something kind of like that. Like Vanguard's guild hall system was probably the best that I've seen so far. And one of the things that they had was a raid trophy system. That if you could kill a raid boss, you got a raid trophy that you could display in your guild hall. And the guild hall wasn't like the walls and the structure was all preformed, but all of the props that you could set in your guild hall were all freeform, so you could put that raid trophy wherever you wanted to, and so you could. There was a lot of cool things that you could do with it, and I don't know what that brought that up. I think it's just showing off trophies.
I liked how DCO took that to in a different way, where they made inside the guild halls you could have statues of like current guild members that were like the leaders in your your PvE or PvP or whatever. That was pretty cool. I would like to see that in some fantasy type setting, fantasy MMOs.
That is kind of neat.
A statue of the guild leader right there as you come in, right?
Well,
that Helsing.
They set it up to where it's like automatically, and even the person who the statue is of, they could select a specific outfit they want the statue to be in too. So it was really cool. That's one thing I like about DCU.
Well, that
they have
totally
some really
makes
cool
sense,
social
too.
features.
Oh man, the Helsing army would hate me. Like every time they walk in, and I would find the weirdest position for
a
my
giant bear butt.
Oh, yeah, just a giant bear butt, and me sitting on top of it doing this, like, hey.
Just a sword in the butt.
It's just a sword. Yeah, it's the sword in the butt, and me just like leaning on the side of the bear.
How many sizes do bear butts come in?
Depends on the bear.
I'm just saying, you said huge bear butt. I mean, bears are pretty big. So,
Yeah.
I mean, how massive does a huge bear butt have to be?
A dire bear.
Yeah, it's a dire. I'm talking about like maybe
Okay.
owl bear sized bear.
All right, I understand now. You're speaking a language I can understand.
Yeah.
Bear butts have now been upgraded to owl bear butts.
Bear butt.
Well, you wouldn't display just a bear butt. It would have to be like the raid boss owl bear.
But why not? You display just a deer's head.
Well,
Tanlin couldn't
that's where
shoot
you
an
get
animal.
trophy rack.
Is
Why
that deer
Tanlin
gonna?
couldn't shoot an animal.
What if the raid boss was a giant owl bear, and its main attack was that it swamped you with its butt?
Like
Then it could be your trophy because you're like, I survived the bear butt.
That's a hot fix
Why
mix
did you
now.
Lucy, I love
I'm
you.
not really sure.
If you keep letting her talk, I won't be able to, because like I can't breathe when I hear stuff like that. So maybe that's a good thing. Keep going.
When Lucy is talking, my drink is far away from me because there has been at least 2 episodes in a row now where I have snorted coffee out my nose because of her.
Like a ground slam sort of thing, but just with his butt.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Like a butt bounce.
Yeah.
Are you
But it doesn't sound
implying that
menacing
somebody puts an owl bear in a game, a giant owl bear that just twerks on everybody?
Yeah.
Not twerks. It's gonna be like violent and like scary. Like
I don't
you
know.
could die from it.
I've seen some YouTube videos where twerking is violent and scary.
I don't want to see your YouTube video.
Oh, twerking is violent and scary.
Oh, you're talking about that one Brazilian dance where they
That
lay
Brazilian dance.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
Yeah, where you could possibly
I don't
break
wanna
your
see
nose.
either
Yeah.
one of their
It's
YouTube
totally-
histories.
PG-13.
It's a legit dance. It's the sad thing. It's a legit like popular dance.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
and totally PG-13.
Liar.
Yep. Hashtag twerking is scary. Let's get that out there. Hashtag twerking is scary.
So today's EverCast break videos will be twerking.
No,
Apparently.
next week.
Maybe
Okay.
next week. So we have to get an owlbear, and we have to be able to SOE emote it twerking and make that into a video, and then we'll play it in the break.
Not me.
Not it.
I'll do it. I'll do it.
And he's the guest. Go for it.
If I had video editing skills, I would.
You'd twerk.
I need a furry costume though. You gotta have a furry costume. If you're gonna do
I'm
that.
pretty sure we've got friends that could arrange that.
I'm not touching that one. Mm-mm.
Oh, I know we've got friends that we could arrange that.
All right, so we have about 5 minutes before break. Any last final thoughts before we take it to break? How are you guys feeling right now? Are you just let it out?
I cried when they let go of Dave and Linda. Cried.
I didn't cry, but I was really disappointed. And I felt like after last week when I was like, everything's going to be fine. They've never disappointed me. I'm like, where are my words? I feel like I need to eat them.
I don't cry over stuff. It's not my thing.
I feel like when I saw Morgard got let go, somebody like took an ebook and like just smacked me across the face with it, full speed, It hurt.
Yeah, I felt the lore loss right here. Right here.
Yeah, it was right, like, the EverQuest Next NORAP has me, like, I want to know all about the Dark Elves, what happened when they came back, what they were doing over there. It took a while for the books to get me to that point, but I'm there now. I want, like, I'm bought in, if that makes sense. And
I was going to say Pentapod could probably chime in, but Steve let me know that he put the very final edit pass approval stamp on the Dark Elf, like, conclusion of the Dark Elf, like, Umbra thing, and it's done. So, like, we should see that, like, very soon, because all they have to do is pretty much hand it out.
Yeah. And then my other thought is that Linda Rouse Carlson is an incredibly friendly and wise woman. She will friend anybody on Facebook. I've been following her from, like, the moment I met her. There have been times where, like, she's been like, hey, she has a goat farm, and she's like, hey, I need some help with the goat farm. And, like, I'm like, I want to go and help her. I care about her. I want to see her be successful. And it hurts because I feel that same way about Dave. Like, I want him to be successful. I want his vision to be successful because he's got that charisma. He can talk to you in language that convinces you that he can deliver on what he sees, and whether or not that. I'm not even going to speculate on whether or not he can or not, because it's not his job anymore. It's somebody else's job now. But to know that he was cut off from that vision, it hurt me. Because for that moment, I felt like I was cut off, and it was the other developers stepping up and being like, no, it's okay. We're still going on this journey together. That was like, okay, I can still move forward. I've now been, like, relieved.
I guess I'll go last because I'm the only person left. It sucked. Like I think the best way to say it was kind of like a breakup. And it did suck to see all those people let go, but I think the way that certain people, like even certain developers and devs, like, have stepped up and kind of spoken out, and certain people that I think I can't remember his last name, but Ben was one of the still on the team. He was one of the developers on EQN. He was like, he very, like, I think it was his, like, private own Twitter. He just tweeted out of nowhere. He's like, guys, we still have a team. We still, it's very much a team effort. And, he's like, and EQ1 has the largest team at Daybreak. So I think what we should take from this is that
came from Smedley.
Yeah. And that it sucks, and it is a hard thing to see, but I think that we should all look forward, because I think a lot of them are looking forward to their new chances. Some of them are going to go off and do new things. Some of them are going to go do different jobs. Maybe that was just their one stint in gaming. But I think the way that any of us could show support for what they did is to show support for the game that they've made, and in any game. If it was H1Z1, show support for that. If it's PlanetSide 2, if you just come here and to check us out, you're not even interested in EQN or Landmark, but you like us and you just like what we do, then we've been doing this for over a year. We're coming up on episode 50 in 3 weeks. And we've been doing this with sometimes no information some weeks, and this is how we show our support. So, you know, this is a community I never thought I'd see myself become a part of, and I think it's kind of cool that we can band together like this and show our support for a company and people that work there. And I think it's a cool thing that I can do this every Sunday because of a game and those people were a part of it. So thank you guys. Thank you to Jay George and Linda, Jeff, anybody that left, Felgen, Morgard, Matt Higbee on PlanetSide 2, he left on his own volition. Like, any of those people that made these great games, thank you.
Amneris,
Ashling.
Ashley.
If I forgot anybody, I'm sorry, but thank you.
All of the names should be scrolling below.
Yeah,
we made it a pint. Or we made it a pint. We made it a point.
We should have made it a pint.
It comes in pints?
It can.
It should.
So all of us, I think, have a background in pen and paper RPGs. All of our break videos kind of relate to it's a theme. It is our theme for our break. For those people that are joining us for the first time, we do a 2-hour podcast, live cast, shoutcast, whatever you want to call it. The first 2 hours are, the first hour, we try to stay really on point. The second hour, not so much. We take a 5 to 10 minute break, so that you can, get up, do whatever, and so that we can get up, stretch, do whatever. But don't go anywhere. We will be right back. Yeah, Lucy needs a refill. But don't go anywhere. We will be right back.
All of the videos we're about to show have Lucy's stamp of approval.
Me too. But I don't count, only Lucy.
I would like to point out that I picked out 2 of these videos.
They're fantastic.
Thank you.
If you haven't seen them yet, you need to see them, so we're really doing you a favor.
Yeah. Definitely this time it's for you. Who wants to camp us out?
Felix.
Yes, camp.
Is it me?
Yeah.